we forgot the true definition of love. You know, it's love of mankind, the love of a power outside yourself. It's knowing that this too shall pass and remaining in the stillness of the moment.
Do you see how maybe in 10 years' time, there's a possibility for humanity to bring some of that paradise in that other realm into this one that we're in as well?
Yeah, because people are definitely tapping in. People are starting to have faith in knowing that this too shall pass, that there is something way better than that.
What do you feel is the biggest test that we're going to face in the next year?
Faith that this too shall pass. We're going to have some tough patches, but boy, that faith is so powerful. Once you can, I'm logged into it so well that I never had it like this before.
Our world is shifting faster than ever, and it's so easy to feel small in the middle of all of this. Imagine being part of a movement, a tribe that is not just talking about the change, but actually living it. That's why I created The Deep Dive, a living spiritual ecosystem where every single day we go on a journey to remembering our most authentic self. Our members have joined from all walks of their awakening, and it's been such a blessing to witness all of the soul relationships that are already forming. As a community, we start every day with simple, powerful activities, and we're beginning to start envisioning the kind of world that we want to experience. This is way more than exclusive content or just another spiritual Netflix. This is about integration and leaving behind a legacy. If you're ready to move beyond knowing into becoming, then visit the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen right now to learn more. I'd be honored to co-create history with you. Linda G, welcome on Just Tap In. What are you most excited about right now globally and in your life?
Well, you know, the people who are drawn to me were not necessarily happy about what's happening in political realm in the United States. And we would talk real negative and I can't wait for this or that. And then one day my guide said to me, shh, it's not good to wish ill on others, even if you think they're just terrible people. You must not do that. It affects you more so than it does them. Mm-hmm. And I told everybody we need to stop that. We're going to have to stop it. Although we can't help when we see injustice happening to want to fight, we have to allow, because the universe knows what they're doing. And let me tell you something. My joy is be able to have this gift. And like you said, you watched my 2025 that I saw the thing with Elon Musk and Trump not working out, which is true. But I have seen what's coming up clear as day and they have told me what's going to come up. And it's all happening as we speak. So my joy is watching the end of all this drama, which will be able to grow even stronger and come together as brothers and sisters, because it's his own tribe, because his own tribe will turn against him. And then we'll see a gathering of people really wanting to work together. So that's what I like. Wow. That's my joy.
Beautiful. I feel like we're going to take the lid off of everything in this episode and go really deep. But I loved what you said about your guides telling you, that in regards to ill will toward others and judgment and all these other things, because one thing I've realized in this journey is that there's this order in the universe. And I wanted to ask you there, for someone in the world that's a leader, a politician, whatever it is that represents certain shadow aspects of humanity, what do you feel is the greater order and universal purpose in that representation that we're seeing in the outer world?
Well, it's love, but we forgot the true definition of love. It's love of mankind, the love of a power outside yourself. It's knowing that this too shall pass and remaining in the stillness of the moment, not to be so focused of outcomes, but focused on this in the moment, like Eckhart Tolle talks about, who's one of my favorites. That which is like unto itself is drawn. So you have to be careful about what you're thinking because you can create it. So try your best to think. You don't have to be Miss Sunshine Lollipops, but be careful of those thoughts because it will create disorder for you more so than anything. When this person won again in the presidential, and I saw this person wasn't going to win, and our friend had the same thing. A lot of people had the same thing. And I told them, why? I couldn't believe it. Because, hey, they told me when the COVID was coming, they told me a year before it happened. Why would you say, but when you look at it, they didn't really say that was the bottom line. But what they did say, and probably psychically, I could not accept anything else. But what they said is man has free will and his people need to see who he really is. And that's what kind of is, because this whole, I don't know, I know astrologically a lot of things are going on. And I know ETs are not interrupting us, but they're observing us. And they won't allow any kind of nuclear thing. Because I talked to an ET one time and he told me, we cannot interfere with your free will, but we cannot allow, which they've already done. Any show you've watched, they've shut down all nukes at certain bases, scared to death out of the Russians and everybody. And Chernobyl, there was a ship right over the part that blew, I think it was number 4, sucking up the radiation. They said if it hadn't done that, there would have been a lot more, death than they already had. So it's like, so they can do that, but they're hanging around because we're not treating this earth very nice. And Mother Earth, she doesn't get mad. She just readjusts. And if it involves shaking a bunch of people off, so be it. But try to be in the moment because that's what saved my life. I had a double mastectomy. I was no hair on my head. I'm walking down a path. I'm begging for my life because my boys were still young. Please don't let me die. I was a nurse for 20 years. I've seen a lot of death. And they said to me, this man talked to my ear and said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm begging for my life here. And he said, there's no such thing as death. And I'd seen a lot of spirits, so then I felt so embarrassed. I literally kind of went back into myself and then I gave to the universe all of myself. I said, into thy hands, I commend my spirit. If I must die, I'll die. And I know it will work out okay because in faith, I know you'll take care of it. So it basically kind of a please forgive me and take this burden from me. And I'll enjoy my life that I have here now and I'll stop whining for more life. And something happened in that moment that was so profound. Words cannot express, but there was these trees and there was no wind blowing. This is up in the Marin Hills. Mm-hmm. And the trees started to wave like King Kong was coming through. And my dog who I was walking would never stop. He'd always say, come on, let's go. He sat. And then this wind came down and hit me, went right through me. And there's another guy that talked about that wind. And it was, he's the gentleman that does UFO stuff. He talked about the wind. He's very
Stephen Greer.
Not Greer, the other one, Beecham
Chris Bledsoe.
Bledsoe. Yeah. And he felt that because it went through me. And it was like, whoa. And then I heard thy will be done. Now, mind you, I was raised by atheists, so I wasn't a Bible thumper. I don't know much about spirit, except when I was 8 years old, I saw Jesus. but boom. And then I was high as a kite. I thought if I touched an electrical socket, I'd blow it up. I was like, whoa. I was buzzing for 2 days. I couldn't eat, which tells you something was wrong. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't put into words what had just happened to me. And I couldn't get the smell of the earth off my hands. Now, my native cousins and friends, because I'm a registered Comanche native, they said the smell of the earth is a sign of healing. So I probably had a spontaneous healing because the cancer has never come back. And that was in 2009.
Wow.
So after that, I was always a little psychic and I could see spirits, but whoa. And I was standing in my bedroom, minding my own beeswax. All of a sudden, that guy comes back, that gentleman, and he's comforting.
The voice that you heard.
Voice. He's not sweet and loving and warm or gentle. He's like somebody when he talks to you, listen up. And he said to me, you're going to start a YouTube video. And I had done a little YouTube video as a guest with a friend of mine. I thought, because she would get all dolled up. And I remember kind of immediately repulsed. And I told him, I don't want to get up and brush my hair. Then I realized, what the heck are you doing? You can't talk to the master like that, because I'm shocked I didn't get hit by lightning. What do you mean you're not going to? You don't want to brush your hair. And he said very calmly, you will help calm them down. Mm. So my friend, thank God I have a son who knows about YouTube. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, but he knew how to set it up. I just sat in front of the computer, didn't know what I was doing. And then it just took off. And the community is so wonderful. They are just the best people you could ever meet.
Mm. What a powerful story, Linda. And one thing that I wanted to go deeper into there is when the channel started blowing up and more people started to find you, what do you feel it is about your message that has touched so many hearts?
Well, that this too shall pass. And they kind of dig, I hate to say it, but people dig when something happens. They need that fix. If I prophesy something or they tell me what's going to happen and it happens, they're like, doggone, Linda. You know what I'm saying? But I don't like to be idolized either. So some people think like, oh, well, Linda knows. No, I don't know. And sometimes I get it wrong because I'm human. And sometimes the messages, I'm not deciphering them enough. The one thing he told me, he said, you can help calm them down. He said, if your ego gets involved, we will remove your gift. Wow. Which is like when I was younger, total ego. But now, after going through all this and now I'm 72 years old, there's no ego there. I'm just going to tell you straight up what's going to happen. But the love and the caringness of everyone. And then when I don't do personal readings anymore. I do free readings. We give them away on the show. But when I did do readings, like my friend told me, he said, Linda, you have a way of grabbing right into the soul, but it's not me, it's them. Because I will tell people things about themselves that they didn't tell anybody, but it's not me, it's them. To be honest with you, after I'm done, I tend to forget what I said.
Yeah. Like
you just told me, hey, Linda, you said that fallout. I didn't remember saying that. It's the other people that said that, and also I said people would walk away from the Orange Menace, and that's happening. But I just have to trust what they say and say it.
Mm. And also part of your, I guess we could call it a job, but your mission is to be really in tune with the current circumstances of the world at large. And I would love to tune in because we are at almost like a precipice, like a moment in time where, and I've heard a lot of people in this space being like, this could, converge into different timelines for humanity, depending on the choices that we make now. Are you seeing it as that important of a time the ones that we're in right now going into this year? Or is it just a casual other, just another year?
It's a healing that's taking place. Like we're pulling the Band-Aid off. A lot of the underhandedness, not just in the United States, but in all countries, Russia, etc. You're going to see within 10 years' time a total turnaround where people will no longer take lies or unhealthy, stealing of money. I mean, you can't be a convict and be a president anymore. I mean, there's going to be so many changes coming up. But, maybe we needed to go through this, because even when I was young with John F. Kennedy, that terrible assassination, I'm willing to bet the CIA was in on it, but I can't prove it. And I just think that there's so many black and so much covering us that will be getting ready to go, because people are done. Look at the marches. They said 7 million, but then when they sat down and counted them, they're saying 20 million now. The 7 million that signed up, but then the rest of the people, they said that was humanity saying no more. And enough of that prayer makes it happen. But it's all about love, because I was watching that George Harrison 2-part series on HBO, and it was so beautiful. And, he said, his son said he came to him in a dream, and he said, "Dad, where you been?" And George says, "I've always been here." And so what helped with being a medium is being able to read people's with loss of sons and wives. I was reading a woman who lost her husband, and we were talking. I was talking on my landline, and my cell phone goes off across the room. She heard it too. And I get up and walk over, and I took a snap picture of it, and it said, "In my realm, anything is possible."
Realm.
In my realm, anything is possible.
Wow.
That was that was outside of the norm, and it was wonderful. Anything is possible, and we as humans on Earth can make things happen. But the most important thing is love, and you cannot touch. Olivia Harrison was talking about this. I feel it's so true. You cannot touch God unless you really can love something other than yourself. I know that sounds weird, and I thought for a mother, a lot of mothers or even dads, it's the child, because you will give your life up for that child. And so really loving something or being passionate about animals or whatever makes you closer, makes you be able to connect to the God force. I have read so many people that were so depressed, and depression, I know I went through it a lot. I understand depression. And they said to me, "I just can't feel any joy, Linda." And I said, "Well, you got to just sit still, and you got to think of something that could make you happy. Even if it's a fantasy, just sit and think of that thing. Maybe some joy when you were a child, or a fantasy about Gerard Butler coming in your room, something. And then as you focus in on that, stay there, at least if you can, starting at 20 seconds, then to 2 minutes, then to 30 minutes. But when people practice that, it's really weird. All of a sudden, they'll notice that switch. It's like Eckhart Tolle says, do the 3 deep breaths every day. Just breathe deep and breathe it out. You don't have to do a mantra. You don't have to do anything except those 3 deep breaths. And he guaranteed people, if they just practice that every day, they'll all of a sudden notice a switch, which is exactly what happened to me. I'd already got the woke-up call when I was walking the dog, but then I started practicing Eckhart Tolle. He's talking about a certain religion or something, but I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, so you do that, you stay still, you try not to have your mind scattered, and you just do that breath. And when you're doing that breath, you slip into total consciousness. And the longer you can stay in consciousness, the more powerful you become. Because most of us walk around unconscious. Do I need to pick up mustard? Do I need to go get the kid? We're always in our heads. But if you remain focused and breathe in that energy, it changes you. I got to tell you, who I was even 15 years ago to who I am now is night and day. Night and day. So when women call me crying and all upset and, he's left me or I have nothing to live for, women and men, I totally understand it because I've stood exactly where they are. And it's hard to tell people, listen, there's hope. All you got to do is hand them the tools. It's not up to you to take care of them. Hand them the tools that they can do to help expand themselves. And something will happen. I've had so many people come back and say, Linda, thanks to you, or introduce them to the books. See people like you when you talk in that calm voice that gives them that energy that they need. I love watching speakers that tell their story. I love those. I like those out of, what do you call those?
Out of body experiences.
Out of body stuff. Yeah. I would go out of my body all the time when I lived in Castro Valley, and the bed would even shake like an exorcist. But I didn't like it. I finally asked them, please, I don't want to go out of my body. And they stopped. But I hit right through the ceiling and I could feel the cold air outside. I said, I don't want to do this. But also,
I've been trying.
I just took off and I didn't like it. Also, I believe I had died when I saw Jesus at 8 years old, because when I got slammed back into my body, I was as cold as ice. But what do you call that? The NDEs?
Yeah. Near-death experience.
But I didn't know who Jesus was. But I'm telling you, I was on the other side. I was in the realm where everything is just beautiful. I could hear the hum, which is actual energy, but it sounds like angels singing. And it was technical.
When going back to that story of the woman's husband who had passed, that maybe transmitted that message, in our realm, anything is possible. What do you now know, since you were 8 years old, your years in the nursing world, in the medical field, what do you know about that realm now that can apply to our lives that we're living here in whatever this realm also would be called,
Right. Well, over there, the thing is, like, people don't burn in hell with the suicide. They just are Harry Carey or whatever. It's very sad, but it's also over there. Anything you need to know and all the answers are there. And on this earth, you'll never get it all done. You'll never get it all done. You just won't. So just get that out of your head. But the grief that people experience with the loss of the loved one, that's why it's so cool in a mediumship situation to be able to tell this person something only they and their loved ones would know. There's a very famous person who had died. I did not watch him. I did not go to his shows, but I liked his music. And he followed me and wanted his family to know he was sorry and to let them know, he was okay. So somehow or the other, I read someone who knew his daughter, and she called the daughter and she said, I have this psychic. And I'm sure the woman thought, I don't want it. What is this? Somebody trying to make hay on my father's famousness. And she said, tell me, Dad, something Dad would say, and that I would know what you're talking about. And he was on life support until they pulled the plug. Everybody was there, and his bandmates and everybody. And he said to me, get all these effing people out of here. He was mad.
Leave me alone.
And she busted out laughing. She said, that's something my dad would have said. He wanted to be in peace. He wanted to die in peace. He didn't want all those people standing around gawking at him. But you got to have something to give them. Sometimes I can't pick up people. I just can't. But lots of times that love that comes through, oh my God. And what's interesting, they're the ones in paradise. We're the ones that have to suffer here. And some people are just determined to live themselves with this loss that, and I can understand you miss their physical presence, but know that you'll see them again. They're there. Just like George Harrison told his son, I've always been here. He said, Dad, where you been? I've always been here.
You talked about this reset in the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. And also you were talking about how this other realm is a paradise. Do you see how maybe in the 10 years time, there's a possibility for humanity to bring some of that paradise in that other realm into this one that we're in as well?
Yeah, because people are definitely tapping in. People are definitely more so. Remember, well, you're young. In my day, my dad even was like, I got through nursing school doing readings on the side. And my dad was like, bah humbug. She can't even get her own life together. What the hell is she doing telling? Because I used to have limos pick me up and take me to meet very famous people to read for them. She can't even get her own life together. What the hell is she doing reading others? But now people, and I get people that have these fantastic dreams about seeing their loved one again or seeing certain things on the other side. And so people are starting to have faith in knowing that this too shall pass, that there is something way better than this. There are some people that just can't get, even people who are very controlling. That's really bad. One of the worst sins on earth that I was told is taking away someone's free will. And a lot of even mothers do that and don't realize that they're committing such an awful thing, but they do that with their children. Their children are grown and they're telling them, I think you should do this or that, I think. And I always tell mothers, allow, you don't step in there. If he's picking the wrong person, let him figure it out, because he'll resent you for stepping in. Wow. So
you were telling me before we started recording how, a lot of the things that come through for you, it's not that you're seeing this Armageddon or this end of times or this World War III type event. But you are seeing some things that will shake up and wake up a lot of us. So I wanted a lot of earth changes. Yeah, we can start with that. I would love to know more about where you're picking up in that realm.
Yeah. Now, last year I prophesied, I thought I saw a lot of hurricanes, but there wasn't hurricanes. But what I was seeing was water. And if you look at what happened last year, like the flooding in North Carolina that killed all those kids in the camp and adults. And there was massive Armageddon, 8-9 inches of water pouring down, even in Arizona. And I still see that happening. I still see volcanic action, and I prophesize that. But listen, I never saw like Armageddon where people are running for their lives, although a lot of people die in India and other nations. But I never saw that happen in the U.S. as like, I see some tragedy, but not as bad. Maybe it's coming up later. I don't know. I had a friend that decided that California was going to fall into the ocean and was on my show and told everybody that. And everybody was so upset. And sometimes it doesn't help to prophesy something god awful and have people being afraid, just that too. If it happens, maybe that's why we chose to be here at this time. I don't see anything like that, but I do see earthquakes. I'm seeing more in Southern California and Northern California. I've always seen that. So, I even see something happening in Washington, D.C., some sort of some freezing and some flooding and stuff. I don't know why I saw that.
When it comes to these earth changes, do you feel that it's the earth responding to something, reacting to something, or even, intentionally helping us wake up in this process? Or what do you feel the earth as a conscious being is going through right now?
Actually, the earth could have been a lot more nasty than it has been.
Right.
Because we have done so many things, including nuclear testing and stuff. And our earth puts up with so much. But let me tell you, I've told people it's not that it's mad at us. It's just readjusting. It just needs to readjust. And a lot of stuff that is happening will actually change the earth for the better, because we're losing our magnetism. We're coming into I think we're already switching. And it could have been like it was 36 million or billion years ago when that pole shift happened. Things flew up in the air. It was bad. I have a movie on that they did on the Discovery Channel, but this one is a little easier, and the sun is acting up. We've got flares, and I can tell you when the flares are happening, because if I'm watching TV, it'll start and stop on its own. I said, that's the flares interrupting. Things will happen on your computer and with your phone. So, but I'm not going to say, oh, listen, move out of such and such or Texas or something. I feel like there's some powerful stuff. And here's the thing. Until you've lost everything, do you know what your worth really is? So basically, those of us who lived in our 2x4s and think this is my destiny, this is who I am. And then when the universe takes it away from you, it really opens up a whole new bag of worms. You really have to know how to survive. Because, listen, my native heritage, we couldn't understand why the white man was so focused on land. Because you could never own the land. We were nomads. We moved from place to place. But the white man was focused on making this theirs. And we don't own nothing. And that earth will let you know. Say, guess what, dude? You no longer have an ocean view. You're in the ocean.
You're in the ocean. Wow. Speaking of, I love your connection to the native tribes, the Comanche. I'd love to go deeper into what you feel is the role of the indigenous prophecies and teachings that have been around for ages.
Yeah.
And they've been in the land. They're rooted into the land and into the cosmos. What have you received from them, maybe psychically or personally, that also applies to the times that we're in?
Well, in my book, I talk about when I was a baby, my mom took me to the tribe, and the medicine man did the sign of the cross on my forehead, and he said, she has the third eye. But if you think about it, if you're doing the sign of the cross, that's Western. That's got nothing to do with Native. Natives did not believe in Jesus on the cross or none of that stuff. And the other thing I want to say is my mother, her father was Mexican, her mother was Comanche. And her mother died when she was only 12 years old, giving birth to her seventh child in a Native-owned hospital run by white nuns. And I went through my life. She married a white man. My father's white. Mm-hmm. With the bitterness on the tongue of my mother, she was so sad and never got over what happened to her. She was put in what they call the Indian foster home run by the white nuns. And she just, her father was a drunk. So he even went down to the BIA and told them he was still taking care of the kids and he wasn't. So, but he was trying to get the money because the mother was the one that owned the land and had the money. So, my mom never, and in the house, my mom's first language was Spanish and she could speak some Comanche, but in the home, she never spoke it. On my birth certificate, it says she was white and I'm white. Didn't say anything about Native, but I guess in those days they didn't do that. My dad never said anything negative about any other tribes or anything, but my mom would give she was as prejudiced as they come. It's just amazing, but she, like I said in my book, I know the sad side of being in this country as a Native at the time that all their rights was taken. the trauma that happened. All my aunts and my uncles all suffered terribly, And my cousin, I have a cousin whose mother was Comanche and her father was my mom's brother. And so she's a little darker skinned, and she has been raised, she lives a great life in Texas, but she always had that dismissiveness because of the color of her skin. I never had to go through that, but a lot of my cousins did. And so that sadness lingers. I know my mom would always kind of drink too heavy in the holidays. And then later I realized it's probably because she never really knew what holidays were. Her holidays were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents decided they wanted to give us a happy Christmas and stuff. And my dad one day said to me years ago, before he died, he said, well, you guys are doing all this stuff. And he said, when I was a kid, we didn't get nothing. I said, well, you're the one that started it. You and mom made it a big deal, so we make it a big deal for our kids. So, but my mom's sadness was palpable, my friend. And do you know, I took care of her at my house and on her deathbed. I said, Mom, because she was raised Catholic. But when I was with her and Dad, they didn't believe in it. And I said, Mom, would you like last rites? I still gave her that opportunity since she was Catholic. And she said no. She was mad at God. And boy, let me tell you, I pray so hard for her spirit. I know she's okay. I saw her. Yeah. And I'm very glad that I saw her. But so what I've learned from the tribe, I didn't even get to consume until I was older. Because while Mom was dying, and while stuff was happening with the tribe, with lands and stuff like that, I had to fly to Oklahoma to take care of some business because the tribe is in Lawton. And I got to meet some of my cousins over there and go to the Comanche Center and see the history. And it's just absolutely beautiful. A dear friend of mine, Joy Harjo, who won the Poet Laureate, is Muskogee. She's my native sister, one of my native sisters. Beautiful energy form. She talks about her life. I get to converse with different tribes of what they went through. But let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Even my Apache friends from San Francisco, when they were young, they came into a lot of money though, however. When they were young, it was very hard because the white man just wanted everything you had. They just didn't care.
Yeah, I know to an extent what that is like, being, from South America. There's still a lot of indigenous peoples and tribes that are here. They call us their little brothers, because I feel like on a consciousness state, the state that they're in is very different from the one of the Western modern world. And that's why I was sort of like, wanting to know more about how they view this reality, how they view the laws of the universe, the cosmos, our connection to the land. Were you ever able to go deeper into their sort of teachings and heritage in that way?
Well, my male cousins do the hot, what is it, where they put all the coals in the teepee and then they put those things on their chest that pull.
Temescal, maybe?
Something like that. They do all kinds of cool things. And the thing is, when I'm with the tribe, most of them are extremely laid back. I just love it. It's almost like when I was born in Georgia, and some good friend of my mom and dad's invited me to come stay with her. And they would just sit on the porch. And, I was just thinking, maybe I'll go down to the Winn-Dixie tomorrow, and you want to complete their sentences for them. That's what the tribe was like, But there's a lot of heartache in the tribe, I'm going to tell you. And I'm not ashamed to say it out loud.
It's the reality, right?
There is this ancestral pain that lingers from generations to generations. Some people have taken it and built themselves up and moved forward. Even with African Americans that, lived this terrible life, not just in the 60s. Same with us in the 60s. But it's hard to forgive when you're so angry like that. I wish my mom could have found peace with that, but she just was so angry about what happened in her life. And it was partly because she said they were so hungry when they were little, and they would walk home from school in the blazing heat in Oklahoma, and to pretend like they were going home to have lunch because they were too proud to let anybody know there's no lunch there. That's proud.
Linda, how have you transmuted that anger for your lineage?
I try to be more understanding of it. I can totally understand it. Like, I probably was resistance to my mom. I was like, here we go again. One time she had been drinking the fire water at the dinner table, and she told my dad to push the plate. I'm not going to eat this white man's food.
Wow.
And there's me and my brother and sister, fat whiteheads. And we're like, but we want to eat.
We're hungry.
But so you see that energy I was getting? It was like, and then she had to put up with my brother dressing as a cowboy and stuff. That was very popular in those days. But I think she saw the cruelty. And I noticed when she got together, like, she had a real nice Apache friend, and they loved to talk, But she loved her family. She loved her family with everything she had. But she just couldn't get over the way she was treated. She just couldn't. And that gives you a lesson, because what did that do for her life? As it was, she got rheumatoid arthritis when she was 12 years old. Her hands were so crooked, they were like this. She had to have her jaw broke and reset because it was falling backwards. She could barely walk. She was in pain all the time. And then she's carrying the pain of what happened to her when she was, that her family and what happened. It was very hard for my mom. And I've seen that pain. I saw what happened to her, and I refused to go there. And I used to kind of be like that. I could definitely wail in my own, marrying the wrong men. Oh, woe is me. And didn't know how to get out of that. And then boom, the magic of cancer happened for me. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I got woke, and I got woke wide awake. And even my abilities as a mother improved, because that all of a sudden I was filled with this love. And, when I had these kids, I was always so busy just trying to survive. Right. But nursing, I got to tell you, I tried out 436 people took the civil test for to be a nurse, and out of that they took 33, and I was one of them with no prior nursing experience. If that was what I was supposed to do, because I loved it. I worked really hard, and I always thought in terms of, even though I wanted to just, because I would work, 16-hour shifts. All I kept thinking is that could be my mother or my brother or my father laying there. Just wake up, Linda, get on it. Don't half-ass it. Do what you can do. Because when triage, you do have to figure out what's most important. But it was a beautiful thing. And I did some hospice stuff too. And that was really cool. I saw some stuff that was fantastic, including the man who just died while they're rolling him out to go out the doors. When the funeral home came to get him, he died of cancer. The doors just wide open.
By themselves. Opened.
Yeah.
Wow. Spirit is powerful.
Cool. It's so cool.
Well, Linda, I wanted just also to acknowledge and thank you for sharing that story of your childhood and growing up. I feel like that's another window into your life and the person that you've became today. I know in the beginning you were mentioning how this next year, especially, 2026, as we're very close to it now, what are you sensing? What are some unexpected visions that you're seeing for this year? that people can start tuning into with you and everything that we've been talking about up till now?
Yeah, well, I haven't sat down and opened that door yet with them. I have to sit down and be in total peace and quiet with a pen and a pad and just start writing down what they say. But I will tell you this, just now when you said that to me, he just said to me, there's going to be a lot of joy with pain, but there's going to be a lot of joy. So some really good things are going to happen. This nation will finally be able to have some peace. That's what he said. And the other thing I also feel, though, and I don't want to scare people, but man-made action, like terrorist action, taking place around the 4th of July, around that time. There's going to be some people that are really going to act out and try to do something to hurt people. That's one thing about the U.S., even with the COVID. As soon as we could get out there, we was there. They may blow up that parking place, and then as soon as they rebuild it, we're right back.
Right.
So, and knowing there's no such thing as death is very important, because like some certain people are dying right now who are famous in like 86 and 82. Geez, you were lucky to live that long. But people get so depressed about losing someone, and if they could just see what I see, feel what I feel, know what I know, they wouldn't think twice about it. So people say, I keep asking for my loved one to come to me and he won't come to me. I ask to dream about him. He won't come. It's because you're still vibrationally still not able to match, because they're at a very high vibrational energy. And if you're in that low, it's very hard for them to tap into you. So try your best, wish them the best, tell them you love them and you would love for them to check in with you, and then watch what happens.
Have you received any hits about artificial intelligence and everything that's going around this new technological age that we're entering into?
I just heard just now when you're asking me the stuff, I hear stuff. They just said this will be revisited. What does that mean? They're taking off, but they're also going to put enclosures on it or box it up a little bit. This will be revisited, and it won't be as, everybody was excited and talking about it, but I feel like they're going to make it where it can be used for certain things, but it's not going to overtake. It's not going to be something that overtakes. I know they were talking about the people will lose their jobs, but like I called my fence guy and they had an AI make my appointment, and I'm like, Biash, I want a real person. I don't want to deal with you. But maybe stuff like appointments and stuff, but nothing too dramatic. That's what I'm getting. They said this too shall be revisited.
What do you feel is one thing that AI can never replace from the human soul?
Yes.
What do you think that is?
Because it's not a human soul. The soul is a God place, and it cannot be connected to God because it doesn't come from God. Although, hey, listen, you know how Robert Kennedy doesn't want you to take any of those injections, inoculations, but yet a lot of famous scientists who came up with polio and all that, a lot of them got it from the other side in dreams. All of a sudden they were hit. And why are you acting like man did this? This is something that was given to us from the other side. So allow it. You don't have to act like, oh, they're putting things in your brain and all. That's a bunch of crap. But it's man-made. AI is man-made. That which isn't from God is not God. So it's man-made. So there's only so much a man-made thing can do. But it can enhance your life, like with inoculations.
Beyond man-made, I know you brought up Chris Bledsoe at the beginning of the episode.
Yes, because he got that wind that hit him.
Yeah. What are you feeling into regarding ET contact that's coming up for this year?
Oh, my God. They are all over the place. In a way, can I tell you? Okay, let me just give you the short story. I was with a girlfriend up at Sedona, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't really think much or care much about ETs. And she said, "Oh, let's go with this gal and go up with the military." And I said, "Okay." So this gal was entertaining, and she's telling us what to do, and you had to take the little flash thing and point at it. We saw 53 UFOs. And I'm telling you, they were like going up in the air like this. And, these weren't planes or satellites. These were UFOs. And then they would expand. Like you'd hit them with the light and they'd glow like they were exploding, and they'd come back in.
They're playing. They were playing around with you guys.
And so her and I were just high as a kite with this. I couldn't believe it. So then it perked my intuition. I was like, whoa. And then also I'd heard about the UFOs that had stopped nukes, and they're not messing. I'm telling you right now, they're not messing. I don't care how much Putin said we're going to blow you up. No, they're not going to allow it. I'm telling you. So, but I also had a friend that told me about in the Russian newspaper at Chernobyl, seeing that UFO. They took a picture. It was in the newspaper, sucking up the radiation. And so I thought, geez, they really want to help us. So I wasn't as afraid of them, because to tell you, I didn't know. So then then I talked to one. He came to me. I could see his face. He had the large eyes, and he proceeded to tell me that they can't interfere with free will, and that they're here to maintain the earth as best as they can, because what we do to the earth can affect other galaxies, and that we would never be allowed to do any more Armageddon nukes. So then I was watching that green, what's his name? That does CE5.
Stephen Greer.
Greer. Yeah. And that was interesting. So I thought, well, let me practice this a little. So I had a group, probably 60 people up at Sedona at a place. And I said, you guys, let's go out and just look, just take your camera and start. But I didn't speak the language he spoke. He does this whole language thing. And I asked for them to come. I said, we're here. We want you to come and say hello and blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. In my book, I even show one of the pictures. There was a tree, and it's a tree with no light on it. So my friend took a picture of the tree, and then another picture, all of a sudden looks like the tree's catching on fire. Then another picture, you see the outline of like a football-shaped head. It was an entity in that bright orange glow.
Wow.
And then it disappeared. And
an elongated head. Pictures.
Oh my God, I saw shadow bodies walking. We had them everywhere. It was fantastic. So I totally believe in it. I totally believe. And then we went up to in Utah with another friend of mine, and it was amazing. It was pitch black outside. It was freezing cold. And there was a canyon. You couldn't see a thing. So we started doing that. We just practiced it. We couldn't stay outside long because it was so cold. And we were using our cameras. And all of a sudden, this glow came from the can. I have all those pictures. Living proof. So they were there. I'm telling you, they're there. And if you just be quiet and ask for their help, they come even in the backyard. I can see them sometimes. They're
we'll have to go to Sedona together.
Yeah. Oh, Sedona. It's sizzling in Sedona.
Wow. What do you feel is the biggest test that we're going to face in the next year?
Faith. Faith that this too shall pass. We're going to have some tough patches, but boy, that faith is so powerful. I'm logged into it so well that I never had it like this before. I used to tell people before I got more open, think of God as a master computer. You input and you leave it go. Because if you keep changing your mind or wait, I forgot to add this and stuff, it can't answer your prayer. You have to be focused. You have to put it in. You have to have faith that this will be heard. And so if you don't, because a lot of people will say, oh, Linda, I'm broke. I don't have any money. And I'll tell them, well, this is a cool thing about the tarot cards. I'll throw them out and I'll say, well, I see a moment here. I see something that's going to happen and you'll finally get out of this mess. But if they don't have faith, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you get blinded to what was there all along. But a lot of times I've had people write me back and said, you know what? You said this was going to happen. And when you told me, I thought that's way too long, but it did happen and it worked out.
What's the difference between faith and strong belief?
Faith is strong belief might be the same thing. I don't know. Faith is knowing something that you can't see. So a lot of people have strong beliefs that can be real negative too. They believe a woman should be stoned to death if she's, based on religion and all that. You cannot take someone else's free will, your children or anyone. So if you live because you put the flag of a religion over you and say, well, this is how it's supposed to be done. I mean, look at that Catholic Church. They ruled everything. Priests used to be able to get married until they decided they didn't want to share the estate with the wife. And they didn't start Friday for Fish Day until the Pope wanted they weren't getting enough tithings from the fishing villages, so they changed it. You had to eat fish on Friday. It was all based on money. And then look how they took advantage, and they told women they can't use birth control, and people were having 10, 15 kids. I just really was angry with the Catholic Church too, like my mother. But, it's doing a lot of good now. It's making a turn. I like that new Pope. He seems really cool.
Yeah. Linda, I could talk to you for hours. I would love to leave this one at our, let's call it volume 1. And I know you and I are going to continue weaving together.
That's from Bette Midler.
Some of these references, I'm sorry, I'm not going to understand just due to my generation, but I try my best. Yeah. But I'd love to, before closing, we end every show with a segment called The Final Trio, which are some questions that we like to ask at the end of every show. Before we get into that, where would you send people who are new to you to connect with you, to the work that you're doing, your amazing YouTube channel that's booming? Where would you send people for that?
To my YouTube channel. Linda G. Comanche Psychic.
Beautiful.
You can go on there. I have a community page that we chit chat amongst each other. I have a Gmail account that if people want to write and give me some updates of what's going on in the world, it's Grindel, Grindel. I think you have it too. 9103@gmail.com.
Beautiful.
But sometimes it takes a while to get back to you. I have to hire people to help me because I have too much correspondence. But I really enjoy the YouTube channel. I just really have a lot of fun. And I took a 2-month break of doing free readings, but beginning in January, regular subscriber, if you're a regular subscriber, we have a live day and we pick 2 winners. And then if you're a member, I do a member live and we pick 2 winners. But if you're a member, you can try for the subscription and the member. So we have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. I'm sure someone listening to this is going to manifest a reading with you.
There you go. People will say, listen, I was thinking, I just have a feeling she's going to pick me. And that's what happened.
And that's what happens. Beautiful. Well, for the final trio, all these questions are personalized to the guest. The first one I have for you is to really understand further your story. What is one truth you've learned the hard way that changed you forever?
That there is nothing outside of yourself that can make you whole. Never depend on anyone, because anybody could leave in Not necessarily terribly, but anything could change in a minute. You cannot depend on others to make you whole. You have to do that within yourself.
What is the most beautiful message that you've ever received from the realm on the other side?
I gotta say, it's that gentleman that wrote on my cell phone that said, in our realm, anything is possible.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Is anything possible in this realm?
Oh, yeah. We just are slower because are dimensional. But like you said, we're getting very high up on the dimension. One thing about this dimension, it takes a while to manifest. Over there, it's like that. But it can go as fast as it came in. But that's our direction. I might not be alive to see it in this lifetime. But if there's anything I can do, and those around me that can help people help themselves, it's not up to us to take care of everyone. We can't do that. Like they used to say, you'll never get it all done and you'll never get it all right. You're just going to have to do as much as you can do. So when I get messages, I relay them. I try my best, and that's how it works. It's cool.
That's a big reason why I started this channel, because this is a space for intergenerational collaboration and also preparing the future generations to step up as leaders as well, with the help of amazing teachers and elders that are in this space. So
you're doing great work.
Thank you, Linda. And the last question I have for you today is, if you could leave humanity with one prophecy of hope, what would it be?
One prophecy of hope. What would it be? There's no such thing as death in the way people are afraid of. You just keep going on. The soul never dies. I know that's maybe a concept that's hard for a lot of people. It will get easier as we go down the road. I've often thought about going to talk to young people, especially junior high, because I was like suicidal most of my life. I never wanted to live. I hated this earth. And if somebody would have said, look, I'm going to tell you, I've got some things here to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt. Your life goes on and there's nothing as such as death that you think. It's not you go and then everything's over with. You carry whatever you took right to the other side. So try your best to be good to yourself and try your best to know that thoughts of self-destruction is not going to help you, because there's a lot of people just so depressed. There's some physiological, biological things as to why people really have a hard time. Paranoid schizophrenia runs in my family. My grandfather had it. My uncle had it. And I see it in a lot of families. That's a nasty disease. But then there's just plain, like my mother, just downright. I think all her family was depressed.
Yeah.
Based on social issues that, being a Native American, being treated like mom said she was white and I was white. She didn't speak a lick of Spanish in the house. I said, Mom, why didn't you speak Spanish? Well, they don't really speak here. My dad wouldn't have cared.
We can practice our Spanish together. I can.
Because being a bilingual nurse would have been one. All I know is, Señora, no pude, no pude.
Don't push.
But yeah, I wish, I want to be able to relate to the younger, because their lives are just, can you imagine living in this craziness? As it was, I lived with our president being shot, Robert Kennedy being shot, Martin Luther King being shot. I lived doing those emergency things with a nuclear bomb where you had to go under, like that would help. You had to go under a table. We used to do all this stuff. I've lived through a couple of earthquakes. I've lived through 9/11 and all the shock and awe. And these kids now, they have to go through COVID and all this unrest. It's very sad.
Yeah. Well, I feel with us coming together, joining forces, we'll be able
We'll
to
make it.
resonate with a lot of younger people. And thank you, Linda, for saying yes to this. Thank you for your authenticity. And I can't wait to do this again very soon.
Thank you.
So
Anytime.
much.
You just give a holler. If you're serving cheeseburgers, I'll be more than happy to come.
Or like a chorizo pan, something more Latin.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't. But chorizo, my mom always made tostadas with chorizo.
Yeah.
And my dad said you knew a good tostada when the chorizo went down your elbows. And people would come over, the neighbors would come over. Everybody wanted chorizo.
Beautiful. So. Well, we'll try some Colombian food together soon.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.